What is up, you muffin munching muggles? Welcome to Fiction and Reality. All right, I just finished the first season of Frieren Beyond Journey's End after locking in on a 28 episode binge. And boy, oh boy, does it have me trapped and digging for more of those delicious grimoires. The world of Frieren teaches many life lessons involving cherishing the experiences with those close to you, preventing yourself from dallying your time away, and perhaps most importantly, maintaining the resolve and continuity to face the obstacles before you. Let's explore how Frieren's world illustrates how resolve overcomes the fear of failure, promotes personal growth through authorship of one's own fate, and the realization of one's untapped potential. When talking about resolve within the world of Frieren, we can't overlook Fern, everyone's favorite cold-eyed devil who has this potential to surpass even the strongest human mage in history. I mean, she really does take after her master's soulless stare, but also has a possessive side to her as well. And whatever this is, I would say that unlike Stark, from the moment we're introduced to Fern inside the world of Frieren, we see that her resolve as a mage is innately stitched and woven into her seemingly. The thing about resolve is that it requires a purpose to sustain itself. And her purpose is simply to prove that Hader saving her life was not a waste. She wants to reinforce that by showing that the potential that he saw in her is not going to wither away. That being said, the mental state is subject to being molded and shaped by immediate short-term conditions. And as we saw when Fern faced the visions of Hader within the forest, a phantom monster weaponizing the memories of her attachment to the priest that raised her, she initially faltered, but after Frieren upped the blicky on Himmel, Fern mustered the spirit, courage, and resolve to blast the false image of Hader away. The world of Frieren highlights that resolve does not always remain active in a continuous state, but as we've seen with Fern, can be maintained continuously and ripple or fracture due to an emotionally overwhelming series of events. And that resolve must be fortified both psychologically and externally to achieve a state of stability to challenge the barriers set forth. Fern's resolve is best reflected in her discipline and mastery of the mage arts, and what's even more so impressive, the speed and efficiency with which she was able to absorb and apply Frieren's teachings. Some forms of resolve and courage can only be found or activated in the living moment, such as when Frieren returned to a village with Fern in order to kill Qual, the elder sage of corruption, who in the ye olden days Frieren was forced to seal due to the lethality of his piercing magic and the lack of countermeasures. I mean, imagine being so absolutely broken that the entire mage society has to revolve standard offensive and defensive magic around Zoltrak. And you wake up and realize your killing magic is just the new meta. We see Fern is absolutely shaken when Frieren unveils the atrocities of Qual, and that she even appears somewhat shook when facing him. Yet she swallows the heaviness of her fear and handles the defense for Frieren before her master assumes the I am your god stance and kills Qual with the very spell that he created and terrorized the world with. In a world brewing with talent, resolve is the great equalizer, an unyielding force that proves that consistency and discipline endure in a world of attrition. And as we see with Fern, resolve sees an environment that bolsters faith in one's capabilities to overcome and obtain mastery of their trades. I'm curious, what's your favorite Fern moment been so far in the show? The world of Frieren gives its audience perhaps its most dense lesson about resolve through Stark. Yes, the man who pissed his pants while standing face to face with the Dragooner that trashed the village, who also is an apprentice of the dwarven warrior Eisen, an OG from the Heroes Party. When we're first introduced to this guy in the show, he seemed like the run-of-the-mill hack-and-slash warrior archetype, but the world of Frieren thankfully adds more depth to its characters. Within the world of Frieren, we initially see that Stark's largest issue is his lack of resolve. Well, maybe not his largest issue. Initially, we see that he's somewhat deficient in his ability to manage and accept the weight of his decisions and the consequences that come with them, as much as he would the benefits. Resolve is the ability to also press forward and push through adversity. One of the most tethering forces binding one's resolve, such as in Sir Stark's case, was his fear and proclivity to underestimate his own ability. A hollowed out shell of confidence, which left him stagnating inside the village for years, refusing to face the Red Dragon, an embodiment of his fear that looms and drifts, keeping him anchored in place by his duty to the villagers as a warrior, but receding in cowardice due to his lack of confidence in fulfilling the obligation. As we see from Frieren's teaching, when someone lacks resolve to overcome adversity, the surrounding world doesn't revolve to preserve the individual's comfort, and those who know they maintain the capabilities, but fail to overcome a trembling mental block. Guilt displaces that fear. Frieren teaches us that the state of fear is normal, but should not control the outcome of one's decisions or fate. Stark's hands tremble before facing a strong opponent, just as his master Eisen's did, even when he was in his prime foraging with the Heroes Party. But what Stark soon realizes mends the gap between cowardice and his master's grounding was resolve. A reason to fight and keep getting up over and over and over and over again. Frieren had told him to face the dragon and hold it off long enough for her to kill it, likely to help build his confidence and of course save herself the work in getting her grubby hands on another grimoire, all of which led towards tapping into his unrealized potential as a warrior. Yes, even slaying the dragon and begging Frieren to finish it off before he even realized that he killed it. Resolve is the element that opposes the shroud of fear, anchors progress in place, spins forward a pooling sea of guilt when the individual lacks the confidence to bear the weight of their decisions and face the consequences consequences of indecision due to an underestimation of their own capability. Just as Stark illustrated, activating one's resolve can breach through even the most tempered obstacles, leading them to reclaim authorship over their lives. Now let me ask you, who do you think has stronger resolve in Frieren, Fern, or Stark? Deceiving demons in Frieren's universe, resolve is the key component in maintaining authorship of one's faith through resilience and discipline, something Frieren engraved in her core when she committed her mana repression technique and life as a mage to deceiving demons. As we saw with Frieren's backstory, her village was completely annihilated by the demons, upon which she proceeded to salt the ass of Basalt the Throne and sent him packing into the Shadow Realm. While here she encounters filet mignon. And by the way, could you filet mignon that like button for me if you're enjoying this video? I put some heart into these videos, and it is the weekend of love, so show some love to me. So while here she encounters filet mignon, who teaches her the importance of viewing magic through the lens of curiosity and not being strung on chasing its destructive capabilities, which if you think about it reflects a deficiency in humbleness, such as what was reflected in the demons they encountered shortly after. Though Frieren is not as emotionally attuned to other living beings as other people are, she is resolute in her devotion to deceive demons and radiates an insurmountable amount of humbleness for every opponent she encounters. While she knows her strength, she never lets herself become consumed by it. Maintaining consistency of a mental state is resolve in its own right, just as much as remaining consistent in one's actions performed in order to progressively hone one's skills towards mastery of their trade. While Frieren can also be consistent in other things, such as her slovenly sleep schedule, requiring her to get her ready for the day, or of course falling for traps in hopes of being that 1% that gets the rare grimoire, she remains persistently grounded in her state as a noble elven mage. Her self-committed venture toward understanding humans better following the death of one of the most beloved members of the hero's party, Himmel, led to her serving in a mentor role for Fern, who undoubtedly made Frieren more empathetic to the cause and concerns of humanity while traveling alongside her on their journey to Oriel to speak to the spirits of their loved ones who passed on. Sometimes resolve results in an internal transformation or completely reawakening a shift in perspective. For example, when Frieren was exuding aura against aura and clashing with her puppet army, she explicitly mentioned that she tailored her fighting approach to maintain respect for the dead puppet army being used to fight against her. This fight was sort of an objective convergence point measuring how far she truly was willing to go to understand humanity, while also practicing the lifelong resolve to deceive demons by repressing her mana, which allowed her to take aura by surprise by overcoming the scales of obedience, an artifact that weighs 2 souls and allows the one with the greater mana to become the puppet master of the other person. Frieren's journey itself is the manifestation of her resolve, a voyage in which each and every encounter, no matter how small or large, views her with another token of humanity's gratitude or struggles, which reminds her of the significance in seeking magic for its essence and for its humbleness and usefulness in helping others, rather than as a source of destructive decay. The battles between the party and the demons in Auberst highlighted how having the resolve to endure hardships, even when on the brink of failure, unlocks your untapped potential. We all know Stark is somewhat cowardly, but who wouldn't be when you just watched a dragon cut up some buildings like vegetables, then zim zam zoomy right off? During his fight with the demon in Auberst, he realized that his opponent was using the magic of the copy ninja to absolutely steal his master's entire flow. Though he lost tremendous ground and was getting axed in the axe, ultimately leading him to drop. He recalled the significant lessons of resilience that his master taught him. The secret to beating strong opponents is what Eisen called it, which was to keep getting up over and over and over and over again until you couldn't anymore, regardless of how many times you got knocked down. Following this advice, Stark somehow tanks the chip shot from the demon and then splits her wide open with his axe. Frieren shows us that the individual themselves can never realize their full potential if they don't have the resolve to push past their perceived limits or face the fear of failing. Anything short of this leads to the characters underestimating their own capabilities and achieving their goals and questioning their own identity. Stark's encounter with the demon reinforces that when someone is within proximity of greatness and the model that you want to ascend to seems unattainable, resolve is the equalizer that closes that gap. In the world of Frieren, as we see, demons of the last few centuries fall to the humans of the present. This is a testament to the fact that experience does not always overrule grit, tenacity, or resolve, but in fact runs the risk of creating long-standing arrogance, as we see with the demons and their pride in magic that spirals into complacency, which leaves them to be surpassed by the world revolving around them. Fern's battle with the demon in Auberst was absolutely peak cinema and put the limelight on the importance of securing the resolve to blast through your obstacles and push forward and awaken your potential. Fern expressed a concern over facing the demons due to their lack of experience fighting demons head-on by themselves, as well as the fact that the demons, in all their pride and arrogance, never really sensed them to be a threat as much as they did with Frieren, which if you see an elf sort of get hung by a rope and then do this, well, you can understand. I mean, to be quite honest, the battle with Fern wasn't looking too hot, and Fern had us all in the first half until once again, while she's pinned to the wall, we're met with the pride and arrogance of demons who underestimated her, failing to realize that Fern had the resolve to stop underestimating herself, which of course backfired against the demon when Fern was like, hey, so anyway, I started blasting, overwhelming him with casting speed and an innumerable amount of spells. Frieren illustrates that humbleness always endures arrogance and resolve undercuts experience. It's why Fern follows in the footsteps of her master in repressing her mana. It exposes the hubris of her opponents, the ones who decide to presumptively box her in as a low-class mage simply by correlating the amount of mana she's outputting with her perceived skill level, and all while Fern treats them with just as much danger as she would as if she were fighting Frieren to the death. It's not just about deceiving demons, it's about deceiving bluster, ego, pride, and using your opponent's lack of humility to create an opening. The world of Frieren is quite adamant in illustrating that experience does not always ensure an outcome against a lesser foe. Fern's resolve isn't isolated to her spellcasting ability, but also a culmination of her discipline in studying the history and arts of magic and experience fighting monsters with Frieren along their journey to Aureal. Fern's defeat of the demon in Auberst reinforces the significance of never underestimating yourself or your odds to persevere. Often more times than not, it's the mental constraints, as we've seen with Stark, that govern your ability to take agency over your own fate rather than concede your authority to the fear of falling short. The world of Frieren explores resolve as a device for shifting the tides of fate and making those who doubted their capability become cognizant of the true power and potential that exists and resides within. Let me know what you think in the comments, which matters more in Frieren, resolve or talent, and what's been your favorite demon fight so far. You can also follow my IG page at lvamps23 and other socials in the link below. If you want more analysis of your favorite characters or fictional worlds, go ahead and smash that like button, turn on that notification bell, and subscribe for more. The direction of progress is forward, and it's only up from here. With that, remember, if ever you're lost in a forestry of words, strip your mind from fantasy and look to the window of the world, and there your mind will run free.